Welcome back to That Handicapping Show. I'm Claire Novak, joined by Frank Angst. And today we're going to take a look at a couple of races from opening weekend at Saratoga. Of course, summer at the spa features some extremely high quality events, and this weekend is no exception. The Diana Stakes, $500,000 grade 1 for fillies and mares on the turf. We'll take a look at that. And also at the Sanford grade 2, those younger horses getting a chance to show their stuff in upstate New York. So Frank, let's take a look first at the Diana. 3-year-olds and up, going 1.125 miles on the turf course there. This race features emollients. It has some other really high quality turf fillies in there. How do you think the race is going to set up?
Yeah, it's only half of the 10-horse field are grade 1 winners. So that's what you're looking at Saratoga, a typical Saratoga type race in that regard, typical Saratoga grade 1 race. And for whatever reason, I'm going against all those grade 1 winners. I'm taking a horse to break through in this race. Abaco, I really like the way she ran into Jenny Wiley. I thought she was a little flat in the Sheep's Head Bay, but I think the reason for that was she stretched out some and it was yielding turf and they went slow fractions. So I think there's some reasons for why she ran a little flat in that race. I really like what Shug has done. She's given her some time off and it has just trained her up to this race. 4 works going into us, 2 of which have been bullets. This is her best distance. She's never been off the board at this distance and is 2 for 4. Of course, a lot of fillies and mares in this field have records like that. But that said, that she is going to her best distance. I really like the way she ran into Jenny Wiley, and I think she returns to that closing style in this race. There's quite a bit of early speed in here. Alrighty,
so this mare, Daughter of Giants Causeway, and like you said, the Sheep's Head Bay finished a little bit flat, had a mild kick at the end. But she has done some of her best running, like you said, over this distance, including going back to the Cardinal Handicap, which she won at Churchill.
Yeah, I just think this is going to set up well for her. I think she might be coming into a new peak, even at 6 years old. But sometimes you see that in turf runners. You never know when they're going to peak. This division has been kind of even for quite some time now. That's part of the reason you have 5 grade 1 winners. A lot of these fillies and mares have kind of taken turns. There's nothing but respect. Emollient has a great early foot and has won the grade 1, obviously. Strathnaver just missed getting her grade 1. And then all 3 outside horses are grade 1 winners. The bad news for them is that last year on the inner turf, posts from 8 and wider were 1 for 15. So that's going to be something they're going to have to overcome. It's not a good course to be outside on. That turn comes up fast.
Maybe post and upside is Solid Appeal, breaking from the inside. Reed Baker, trainee, she won the Nassau in May at Woodbine, and of course that's a mile on the turf, but she has run well at extended distances earlier in her career. I was kind of back and forth between if I was going to include her on my ticket, but maybe if she gets a good trip, kind of not being stuck outside might help her at the start. The couple of other interesting scenarios going on here in this race. Chad Brown running a horse off the bench, Alterite, who ran last in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf at Santa Anita on November 2nd. He took some time, trained her up to this race, and like you mentioned with Shug doing the same thing. You know, some of these older horses, that can be the way to go. Maybe you don't need to put 2 or 3 races into them to prep them up to a target. Better to just kind of give them the chance to really build up some conditioning and not have the stress of running, and then go ahead and target these races. So Chad said, he's not going to run her off the bench if he doesn't think she's ready to run off the bench. And we know how he trains. He's a little bit more on the conservative side. And so that would be a sign to me that the horse is doing extremely well, that he would even feel confident to put her in here. I think it'll be interesting to see. She's only making, her 4th North American start.
Yeah, this is a division that most of the big races are in the second half of the year, so you can definitely afford to do that. Chad Brown got his first grade 1 win in this race a couple years ago with Martin Schwartz's Zagara, so some winning connections returning to try to repeat history there. He also recently picked up Stephanie's Kitten earlier this year, and she will start right beside Alterite.
All right, so let's say here's our picks. I'm going to go with Emollient. I'm a huge fan of this horse. I think when she gets the right scenario, she's extremely talented. She just missed. You got to love her shipping out to the West Coast to run in a grade 1 out there in the Gamely. She missed that by a nose, and I think that says a lot about the class of a horse when they, especially a filly, when they can handle the ship, come back, and still be running in the top level competition. So I'm going to pick her. Strathneighbor, I'm very interested in, and Altarite, and then maybe toss in Solid Appeal for a price.
I mean, Emolian is definitely a strong horse, but I think with Somali Lemonade and Discreet Mark in here, she's going to be pressed early.
Have some
So I
tape.
actually I went with 3 closers in here, Abaco, Altarite, and Strathneighbor.
Alrighty, well, let's move on to the Sanford and take a look at some of these youngsters here. 2-year-old horses going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And there's a horse in here who actually I've heard so much buzz about, Mr. Z, trained by Wayne Lucas, owned by Zayat Stables, that I'm having a really hard time picking against him. However, this actually, when you look at it, is a pretty classy lineup of 2-year-olds and a lot of speed in the race too. I think I'm not going to end up picking him, but I am going to include him in my ticket.
Yeah, it's always hard. One thing about 2-year-olds is a lot of times these horses will go gate to wire and they're maiden.
Yeah.
That might not be their true running style, but on paper it could be. If none of them are able to rate, we could see quite a bit of speed. Nana's Boy is the horse that I settled on. I watched the replay. I get the feeling this horse doesn't need the lead, but we'll find out. Distorted Humor and stretches out a furlong with 6 furlongs here. That can only help. Todd Pletcher, I love when he has a horse right from the start. He tends to keep them going in the right direction, but there's a lot of trainers in this field you can say that about. Cinco Charlie is the other horse that I have a lot of respect for. Both Cinco Charlie and Nana's Boy, I watched both of those races and very impressive. Can't say enough good things about those starts. I just leaning towards Nana's Boy, but definitely Cinco Charlie will be a factor as well.
You got to take a look at those Todd Pletcher firsters or first-time stakes runners, the youngsters at the Spa. He always comes out loaded. Also, Wesley Ward coming in here with Bessie's Boy, winner of the Tremont last time out at Belmont. So I'm going to go with Bessie's Boy. Include Cinco Charlie, like you said. He's the winner of the Bashford Manor and undefeated in 2 starts. So,
and I do always like a 2-year-old that passes horses. And Silver Hill did that in his first start.
I noticed that, yeah.
Ran second in his second start to Cinco Charlie. But perhaps there is a lot of pace in this race, and Silver Hill closes it here. I have him hitting the board.
Alrighty, well, that's the weekend of racing from Saratoga. Of course, the Ohio Derby, a bunch of other good stakes around the country, so be sure to check out our coverage on bloodhorse.com. Thanks, as always, to Briss for the PPs. For Frank, I'm Claire. Thanks for watching The Handicapping Show.